Are you mentally stronger than most people? In this video I'm going to give you the 5 signs that you are. And if you get 5 out of 5 then you're a bad motherfucker. Now I know what you're thinking, what does a skinny teenager know about mental strength? First off, I'm not that skinny. And second, I'm definitely not saying I'm the hardest guy on the planet. But I've spent the last 300 days studying the habits of successful people in all different areas. And guess what the #1 most common trait among all of them was? Mental strength. Your mind controls everything, so if your mind isn't strong, then you are much less likely to achieve success in any other area. School, gym, relationships, whatever it is. And in studying the mindsets of David Goggins, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Alex Morris, and so many other mentally strong people, I found 5 signs that almost all of them share that me and you can learn from. So here are the 5 signs that you have elite level mental strength. And I can guarantee no matter how mentally strong you are, there'll be at least one of these that you can learn from and develop. So take notes, grab your popcorn and let's get into it. Starting off with #1, you don't try to fit in. I was always a little bit different. Both my parents were immigrants and I grew up in a majority white neighborhood. And so I would never do anything that didn't seem cool, that everyone else wasn't doing, and I would always put in the least amount of effort I possibly could. I didn't want to be seen as weird or a tryhard, did I? But following the trends or trying to be like everyone else is a telltale sign that I lacked mental strength. Michael Jordan's trainer, Tim Grover, instilled the value in MJ that you keep pushing yourself when everybody else has had enough. As David Goggins put it, he strived to become uncommon amongst the uncommon. Even amongst the Navy SEALs, they were already different from the majority of the population. But even amongst this group, he still tried to differentiate himself, still tried to be better. And that sounds almost like the direct opposite to what I was doing, right? Maybe you doubt yourself, you think you're not enough, that you're somehow worse than everyone else. I know I used to think that, so I would excessively try and conform to somehow make up for it. The reason most people try to fit in is because they don't have the mental strength to go against the grain. It's uncomfortable. I mean, we've got to fight against hundreds of thousands, millions of years of biological programming to do it. Our brains haven't really evolved that much since when we were back in like the hunter-gatherer tribes. And at that time, if you didn't fit in the tribe, that meant you get left behind, that meant you have to live on your own, and that almost certainly meant death. So our brains have evolved to fear not fitting in more than anything else. But obviously our environment, our world has changed so much, but our mind is almost still the same. So now if that one guy in your school or that girl in your class thinks you're a little bit weird, that's not going to kill you, right? But our brains still think it will. So we have to fight against that if we really want to develop mental strength. It might be difficult, but it's so necessary. And I'm going to ask you a question right now that might seem a little bit arrogant, but fuck it, I'll say it anyway. Do you really want to be like the average person? You know, lonely, slight depressive or anxiety symptoms, unconfident, living an unfulfilling life? Definitely not terrible, but just comfortable enough. It's uncomfortable to be different, that's why most people don't do it. But truly being yourself is the only way you can ever really find peace. And this leads on to the next point. #2, you put yourself in uncomfortable situations. This is the biggest mistake I made for so many years that most people just ignore. I used to never want to do anything that other people weren't doing, that my friends weren't doing. I'd just say like, oh, it's not my thing, I can't be arsed. And I would always try and stay in my comfort zone in everything I did. And the way that I thought about it, I was like, why would I willingly want to hurt myself or do something unpleasant? I mean, school does that enough for me. So in my spare time, I might as well just try and shove in as much fun and pleasure and excitement as I possibly can. But I'm pretty sure you can see where I'm going with this. David Goggins puts it best. I was about to do a David Goggins accent. Fuck it, man. No, that's not happening today, don't worry. Obstacles are how you grow. You must continue to have friction. Friction is where growth is at. With no friction, there is no growth. Discomfort is where growth occurs. I mean, physically, if you're working out, your muscle only grows when you train to failure or close to failure. I'm pretty sure most of you know this. When it gets difficult, when you feel that pain, but you keep pushing through to complete the rep of the bicep curl, for example. But it's the same with your mind, with your mental strength, with your character. We've been trained, especially by social media, to avoid discomfort at any cost. I mean, if you're out somewhere and you're a little bit bored, maybe you're waiting for your bus or whatever, you're on a difficult maths question, you really don't want to do it, you're feeling a bit anxious, what's the first thing that you do? You whip out your phone, you open up Instagram. And even when you're scrolling, if a reel or a short is slightly boring, straight away you get the option of opening the comment section or scrolling to another reel to get another hit of stimulation. Most of us have created this habit and ingrained it so deeply in our unconscious mind. Avoid discomfort, that's what we've ingrained deeply into our everyday behavior. It feels nice to be comfortable, to fit in, to avoid failure. But to truly have like elite level mental strength, to grow as a person and live an exciting life, you have to put yourself in situations where you're uncomfortable, because that's where you grow. This can be as easy as something like taking a cold shower, for example. I've made a video on this, I do it every morning. Or like go for a run, even though it's raining, even though it's horrible and cold. Go sign up for that new sports team, even though maybe you don't know anyone else on the team or you're still terrible at that sport. Whatever it is, from now on, make the promise to yourself that every single day you'll do at least one thing that's outside your comfort zone. Every single day. Number 3, this is probably the most controversial point of the video. Now, we've all heard the stories of Kobe Bryant's early morning workouts. You know, we'll wake up at like 3 AM, the guy comes in early for training and Kobe's already finished his first workout. But whenever I hear anybody talk about this story online, the comment sections are always flooded with people saying, oh, but sleep and rest and recovery is so important. Now, obviously I agree with that. But by saying this, we're shutting our minds off from learning the valuable lesson we can take. And this is what might get me somewhat cancelled. We hear a lot about this idea of like, oh, you better enjoy your life whilst you're young, you only live once. And it's become normalised to go out drinking, to eat junk food, to like binge Netflix for hours. But as good as they might seem in the moment, the truth is, most of these types of activities are actually making your life worse in the long run. Eating or drinking stuff that makes you feel like shit and destroys your health. Watching videos that you won't even remember 10 minutes later. I mean, really ask yourself, you've probably watched like YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels in the last couple of days. Tell me one reel that you actually remember. Just fully describe it from start to finish. Probably you can't, because you're just watching it mindlessly. You're not even enjoying it whilst you're doing it. And this is why self-control is the third sign that you are mentally stronger than most people. Can you hold yourself back from these instant gratification, really fun activities that feel so good in the moment, but ultimately you know you shouldn't really be doing them? And if you can't do it yet, you can start now. Say no to the donut or Big Mac. Put down your phone and go and study for an hour instead. Go hit a workout instead of sweating video games. The more that you make these decisions for yourself, the more you can resist, the better you get at controlling yourself. The stronger this willpower muscle in your brain gets, the easier it will become in the future for you to do the things you know you have to do to create the life that you want. Number 4, this is one of the most interesting findings I think of the last decade. So many studies have repeatedly shown that people with this one trait do better in every single part of their life. Health, wealth, school, relationships, mental well-being, basically anything that you can measure to like signify a good life. But the truth is, almost any person can unlock this insane superpower with just a quick mindset shift. The trait is having an internal locus of control. Or in simple English, it's just the belief that you have control over your life. So I used to always put blame on others, on external things. It's my genetics, or my parents weren't rich, that's why. And guess what? I was living a life that I didn't enjoy. But once you take responsibility for your life, once you try to better your situation, everything changes instantly. It's not blaming stuff on everything else. It's saying, okay, yes, maybe I've been dealt these cards, I've been dealt this hand, but what can I do with the situation? What can I do to change where I'm at, to better my life, to actually create something that I want? Instead of looking at all the things you can't control, look at the thing that you can. And the most common habit among depressed people is the opposite of this, it's a lack of this. It's when they look at their situation, they say, I'll never have a girlfriend, I'll never get a job, I'll never be happy. They have low agency, they say, I can't do anything to change this. The first step to breaking out, and the fourth telltale sign of high mental strength, is the belief that you have the power to change whatever situation you're in, whatever it is. And now if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, yeah, this sounds great, but what if I actually don't have any control? What if I'm in a situation where genuinely I can't change anything, where genuinely it actually is some external thing's fault? What if it really is my genetics? What if it actually is because my parents aren't rich or whatever? But the weird thing about these studies I've described to you is that they actually found that having an internal locus of control, having that belief that you can change your environment, even when it's not true, the people who had this still experienced the positive effect. They still did better in health, wealth, relationships, whatever. And even if it sounds like you're lying to yourself, because I guess in some situations it kind of is, you're kind of lying to yourself. The power is that it opens up your mind to new opportunities, to new situations. It gives you that one tiny like extra 1% boost every day of maybe like seeing that new opportunity to go and improve yourself that someone else without this mindset, without this trait, might just dismiss as like, oh, it's fake, it's just a gimmick, it's not real, it's too hard, something like that. It's the belief that you have control over whatever situation you're in. You can improve your attractiveness, you can improve your intelligence, you can improve how much money you're making, the grades you're making at school. Just focus on what you can control and try and make the most of your situation. And sign number 5, accepting negative things in your life. Whoa, what the hell? You're probably thinking, I just told you, I just spent like a minute or whatever it is telling you that you can change your life, that you can change the negative things. So this kind of sounds like the opposite, but it's not really. Because in sign number 4, I was telling you to have high agency to try and change things in your life. But ultimately, there are some things we can't change. There are some genuine things like our genetics, or like luck, or external things, other people's decisions. We can't control that. The weather, whatever, we can't control that. We genuinely can't. And so that's what this 5th step about. It's about not stressing about things you can't control. That's where most of your anxiety probably comes from. At least it was for me, definitely. I'd worry about, what is that person thinking about me? Will I get into this school? What will happen in the future? I was thinking about things that are outside my sphere of control. I couldn't change them no matter how much I worried about it. Even if I worried about it all day, nothing's gonna change. It's not gonna make it better. So why bother? Why bother stressing about your genetics if you can't change them anyway? Why bother stressing about what that other person's opinion of you is if you can't change it directly, at least? Why bother stressing about the economy or whatever when, bro, you don't even have a job? How are you gonna affect that? And it's the 5th sign of high mental strength. It's only focusing on what you can control, but then letting go of things that you can't. This is deeply rooted in like the Stoic philosophy. That's where I really got a lot of it from reading the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And it's really given me that peace. And something that's really helped with this is my religion. It's my belief in God. Since I started reading more of the Bible, you know, and started praying and all of that, and like investing energy and time into my relationship with God, that's when this 5th sign of mental strength really skyrocketed for me, because I'm no longer worried about things outside of my control. I'm no longer worried about what if I get unlucky, what if this happens, that happens, because I just trust that God has a plan for me anyway. I'll just do as much as I can, and then all the uncontrollables, all the stuff I can't change, God will see to that. God will change the external things in my life to mold me and shape me into the person He wants me to become, and help me make the impact that He wants me to make on the world. I know if you're not religious, this might sound like a bit preachy, but I'm just sharing what happened in my experience. And I would recommend to everyone, at least even if you're not ready to like fully dive into religion, which of course I would recommend, but just open your mind to the idea there's some sort of higher power, and just maybe that higher power has a plan for you. So those are the 5 signs of high mental strength. Not trying to fit in, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, self-control, having an internal locus of control, and not stressing about uncontrollable things. You might have heard some of these before, you might not have, but I guarantee that at least one of these you could take it and you could try and implement this into your life, and everyone can improve this, including me. Obviously, I'm not some Sigma male who's gonna say I'm the most mentally strong person on the planet. I can improve too, and together we're gonna go on this journey, and once you develop your mental strength, everything else will follow. So I hope this video helped. A bunch of free stuff in the description, go check that out. But until the next video, I'll see you in that one, and thanks for watching.